So, you've recently been diagnosed with a mental health disorder, and you may be wondering, how do I share this diagnosis with other people? The first thing I would suggest is to take the time to come to terms with your diagnosis for yourself. Do some self care, do some work with yourself to make sure that you have come to terms with what you've experienced before you share it with other people. I joined the National Alliance on Mental Illness after I was diagnosed with brief psychotic disorder, and through this organization, I learned about the three stages of emotional response. The first of which is dealing with catastrophic events. NAMI teaches that mental illnesses are traumatic events, and in this first stage, you may be experiencing some confusion and some denial that is associated with the diagnosis that you have just received. So, what I would suggest is talking to a therapist or to someone else whom you trust about what it is that you're experiencing and how it came about that you were diagnosed with your mental health disorder. I would also suggest attending a support group. I attended, and not only attended, but co facilitated a NAMI support group for people like me who had been diagnosed with mental health disorders and were looking for that support and for people who could relate to them. The second stage of emotional response is learning to cope. Now you've got to grieve this thing. It is traumatic, like I've said before, and you may be experiencing some anger or some deep, deep sadness. I went through a deep depression because I felt like my dreams had been shattered, my life was down the drain, and I couldn't climb out of that hole that I was in. One thing I did though was I wrote in a journal, and I would advise that you do the same. Just get your feelings out on paper. I actually found a sheet of paper that I wrote that when I was going through that, and just looking back at it now and just comparing it to where I'm at, I've just made an amazing amount of growth. And I think that doing this self work really helps with that. So I would even suggest writing a letter to yourself about your diagnosis and how you feel about it. And then the third stage of emotional response is moving into advocacy. So how do you identify with your diagnosis? Is it you, or is it just a part of you? And then maybe even facilitate a support group like I did. So once you've done the work, you've taken the time to really just analyze this diagnosis, figure out what it means for you in your life and how it's changed you, if at all. Examine your reasons for wanting to share. Do you need support? There's nothing wrong with that. I did. I didn't want to suffer alone. I came to a point where I just couldn't hide anymore because I had been suffering in silence. I didn't want anyone to know. I was embarrassed. I was ashamed. I was grieving. I was depressed. But then I realized, hey, I need to bring awareness to this thing. I need to contribute to ending the stigma and ending the silence that's associated with mental illnesses. Then, after you examine your why for sharing, decide what you want to share. You don't have to give every detail of your diagnosis. It could be just as simple as sharing the name of your diagnosis. Hi, my name is Elena, and I have bipolar 1 disorder. And then decide beforehand how much you want to share, just in case you're asked questions by whomever you share with. And speaking of that, decide with whom you want to share, and that may also dictate what you share. So I had people in my life when I was first diagnosed who needed to know. My mom needed to know. I lived with her, and after I was diagnosed with brief psychotic disorder, I had to move back home. And she needed to know what was going on with me to prevent a future crisis situation from occurring. She needed to know where I was when I was in the psych ward and was missing for a couple of days because I needed someone to come and help me. I needed that support. My professors needed to know why I could no longer continue the program. And then you may also have those people whom you want to know. So people who are close to you, some of your best friends, your close family, how can they support you? Let them know how they can support you, whether that's by reading up on your illness and figuring out exactly what it is, whether that's being available to talk with you when you need someone to just kind of vent to, or just a listening ear, just to know that they've got you whenever you need that help from them. And then decide how to share. I've shared a number of different ways. One of my best friends, one of the first people that I told outside of the people who needed to know, I wanted her to know because she was one of my best friends. I actually told her in email, and that was comfortable for me at the time. And then as I got more comfortable sharing, I told people on the phone. I told people over video chat. I told people in person. I've told people on YouTube. So it really just depends on your comfort level, and how you want to share that information is totally up to you. There's no right or wrong way. But do understand that when you share, other people's reactions are out of your control. Be prepared for negative reactions. Some people will be confused. They might have this preconceived notion about what your mental illness is and what it means, and they may want nothing to do with you. And you've got to be okay with that. You have to have done the work so that when you get to that point, you know that, hey, I did my part, and I can't control how this person has responded. But also be prepared for tremendous support. And that is what I have experienced. Every time I've shared my story, I share with people whom I know are going to have my back, or who at least I hope are going to have my back. And they have every single time. And even if you don't get that support, hey, I'm here for you. And just know that every time you tell your story, you are freeing yourself. You are ending the silence, and you are ending the stigma, and you're bringing awareness to something that's kind of in the dark that nobody wants to talk about. So just remember, no matter the response, you are enough no matter what. I hope this video helped you out, and I hope it gave you the courage to seek time to take care of yourself and the courage to share with people in your life whom you may be wanting to share with. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and until next time.